What is up, guys? Welcome back once again, and thank you for joining me as we head to round 2 of our second season here in F1 2019. We are just 1 point ahead of our teammate after the first round in Australia here. We are headed out to Bahrain for the first night race of the season. A track that the AI is notoriously strong at, so we'll see what we can do here in this track there. Take a peek at the messages to see. We've got both of our durability upgrades came through just fine, no failures there. And we've got a qualifying dry race spec'd up. We do have to try and score 4 points this race to meet our team objective after we went to the back of the grid and only got 1 there. So we have to get a total of 5 in order to meet that team objective for the start of the season here. This is our last race to do it. It's only a 2-race objective, and then they'll give us a new one. So we got to try and see what we can make out of it. We're going to go ahead and take a peek. Nobody improved this week. No performance developments, at least. They might have done like we did and did some durability and life improvements. So there's always that chance. We're going to take a peek, make sure everything parts-wise is in working order. We're about 15% remaining after 15% wear after 1 race on that gearbox. But let's head out to qualifying.
Bahrain qualifying is nearly upon us, and the drivers look as if they're all geared up to go. I expect we'll be getting underway very shortly. The competition is certainly heating up as we head into today's qualifying. Some impressive times showing up during the previous practice sessions. Anthony Davidson, do you think we can expect a similar level of skill to be showcased during today's qualifier?
Well, I certainly hope so. The competition here is extremely tight, and I think we might see some very close times today. Remember, practice isn't just about fastest lap times though. It's about optimization, it's about ratifying your decisions. No one's going to be sweating small mistakes here and there, but in qualifying that all changes. You need to nail that perfect lap or face the consequences, and believe me, that's a lot of pressure.
Alright, so we will pop out towards the tail end of Q1, our 3rd flying lap of the session. We are sitting P16 right now, as you can see. Like I said, very quick AI around this circuit. We'll go ahead and cross the line. About a half-second improvement will bump us up. P10 at the moment. We'll see where it shakes out at the end of the session. P12. We are about 2/10 off of our teammate there, so not too far off the pace, but you can see just how quick some of those other drivers get. But here we are, dying breaths of Q2. We are basically dead last coming into the final lap. You can see the big improvement we've gotten that time delta, almost a full second. Right as we started this flying lap, we came out of the pits pretty much right behind Kevin Magnussen here. And we've been using his slipstream basically this whole lap. So we haven't had too much ill effect from the dirty air, or at the very least the gains we've gotten off the straights have helped us out here. This was really the only part where I had to this one in the next corner had to really ease out, lost some time in the corners, but I mean you can watch that delta just grow and grow and grow as we are picking up that slipstream. Verstappen goes fastest, the 127.9 there, and we are on the power through the last part of the lap. Open the DRS, see what we can do, pick up 1.4 seconds. Where do we cross the line at? P10, so we just barely eke our way into Q3 as the auto driver decides to run directly in the back of Magnussen. Very interesting choice, AI, very interesting choice. So there you have it, we are P10. Jumping out to Q3 on the soft tires, our 2nd flying lap. We're P10 at the moment, but picked up about 2 seconds on this lap. We had a pretty big mistake the first lap, so we basically had to abort that lap, spend the rest of it charging battery. So we go 28.8, puts us for the moment P7 as we're going to dial everything back and get our car back around to the pits.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top 3 today. Hamilton, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So there you have it, P8 on the grid, full good half second better than our teammate there. So we have put in some good pace in Q3. The problem that ended up happening both with making it to Q3 and what our fastest lap ended up being that second lap, which was the second flying lap on a set of tires that was already out there. We didn't get a fresh set in. So we're going to have to start on a slightly worn set.
The curtain rises once more then on the desert stage of Sakir as the players take their places for the opening act. Will they enthrall us like they did in 2014 with that titanic battle between Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton? Well, we'll find out shortly as we get underway here in Bahrain. We go racing today around 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit, with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Weber, Sebastian Vettel and Giovinazzi, Bottas, Oldtimer, Russell and Kevin Magnussen, Perez, Gasly, Devon Butler and Ricciardo, Stroll, Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz and Roman Grosjean. Norris and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
All right, so here we are on the grid, and you can see with that starting strategy there, it's going to most likely end up being a 2-stopper, which is why I said I was a little bummed that we actually just barely made it into Q3. We didn't quite have the pace to really hang without using that soft tire. Because if we had free tire choice to start the race, we could probably make a 1-stopper work when a lot of the other top teams are going to be running a 2-stop. Could have gone mediums onto hards. Instead, we set our best lap on a set of slightly worn softs. So you can see that tire life on that soft is going to be very short. I mean, a run of 5 or 6 laps on it. So it's going to really kind of put us on the back foot. I think we probably could have got about 7 or 8 laps on the set if we happened to set our fastest lap the first time out with that tire, instead of having to abort the lap, do another lap to keep the tires warm and charge the car. So that's part of what's I think is going to kind of hurt us in the strategy realm. I think this track, and especially with the AI being so fast outright, probably would have lent itself a little better to a 1-stop for us at least, and maybe make up some ground in that regard. But we've got. We're going to go ahead and dial out some fuel load to try if we can use the slipstream early in the race to conserve fuel. So we'll start a little bit lighter. But we've got the 5 red lights are up, and they go out, and we get on the power relatively smoothly. There was a little bit of a patch that dialed in AI starts. They still seem to be fairly quick to me. But we're going to go ahead and do a typical turn 1 lunge, a little bit of lockup into that corner. We're in the middle 3 wide, so we're trying to protect ourselves, keep our wing dry. A little bit of wheel spin coming out of that corner, but we finish out that push in P6. So we've managed to pick up 2 positions at the start of the race here. We've got Giovinazzi, the new Red Bull driver, right in front of us, and the much quicker car. You can see if you take a look at our fuel mix that I'm highlighted on now, we are about a half a lap short for the full race. But again, we're going to be saving fuel at different areas, especially in the slow technical section with the hairpins, the double left-hander. It's a good opportunity for us to drop the fuel mixture down to the lean mix and really conserve some fuel. But the first of many lockups into turn 10 there. It's a very, very tricky corner to handle. And we are getting a lot of attention from Vettel right on our tail. I'm trying to get these tires fired up and up to temperature here to get the grip. As you can see, we're still slipping, sliding through some of these higher speed corners, having to be a little bit gentle getting on the throttle. I'm going to go ahead and dial up the electronic hybrid motor to give us a little extra speed on the straights. Hopefully hang with this lead group. If we can do that, I think it puts us in a good position for a solid points finish. You see the quick peak there at the tire life. End of lap 1, the tires are already 30% in the hole because of that qualifying rule. There you go. Vettel's going to go ahead and have a look down the inside of us. We're going to have pretty even braking. We're going to hang it out around the outside and just manage to keep enough momentum to keep him behind us. So the first attack, but he's got another good run coming down to the next corner. He gets fully ahead of us there, so we're going to have to kind of slot in. You can see me fighting the wheel as the rear tries to swap places with the front, and I'm really trying to keep the car wrestled in. Burned up soft tires plus a heavy fuel load is not a great combination. You can see just the amount of slide even through the hairpin, the back end and front end both just not really biting down. You can see that time we managed to get pretty smoothly on the brakes. No lockup there. We need to do what we can. You can see we've already dialed it down to the lean mix for a moment there. We are now 0.37 under. We've got K-Mag having a look down the inside of us. We're going to go ahead and, again, just hold off around the outside, get a good exit, and slot right in front of him. You have to be very careful on that fast, almost flat-out right-hander. That inside curb will absolutely flip your car around if you so much as touch it. So it's not a curb you can ride. One thing I've noticed, at least after playing through the first season, is a lot of the early tracks in the season, you really can't ride the curbs all that much. They are very aggressive. But later in the season, when you head to like Mexico, Dakota, Brazil as well, you can really, they've got wide flat curbs, and you can really ride those and smooth out your lines. You can kind of touch these curbs right here, but there are some definite curbs on this track that you just do not want to mess with. So here we are, we're on lap 3. We've got DRS now enabled. We are a little far back of Vettel. To have DRS on him. K-Mag right behind us definitely is within that 1 second of us, so we're trying to do what we can, closing up on Vettel here to get DRS to help us defend our position. And you know, our pit lap is lap 5, so we're going to be coming in pretty soon, as there's a pretty significant rear lockup there, and apparently there's a new strategy coming in. Let's take a peek. It's the same strategy, so interesting choice, Jeff. While I was busy messing with that, K-Mag goes down the inside of us since we weren't able to switch from our lean to a standard mix. He's kind of shoving us off the outside. We're going to go ahead and slot in, trying to get ourselves a good lineup down this next. So we have to kind of get a little early on the brakes because he is right in front of us, but we're going to tuck into the slipstream here. Crank up overtake. We've got Bottas coming at us, and you can see us lift as we come into the detection zone. I almost passed Magnussen coming into the DRS detection zone, but by having that slight lift and letting him leave his nose in front of us, we actually managed to get the DRS down the straight instead of him having it on us. So a little bit of a tactical move there. I have to think quick on my feet coming into that. Instead of making the move into the braking zone, you know, just ease out and get the easy pass done down the long straight. Valtteri Bottas as well goes through, so 2 guys get past Magnussen there. We are doing some pretty good fuel saving here, only 0.15 laps short of target now, so we're having a pretty good run. The lead group is really just kind of showing amazing pace and getting away from us. We're 1.6 off of Vettel now. That is going to be a real tall order to try and keep with, especially with you can see Valtteri's right on our tail here as we come in to turns 9, 10, teeny bit of that inside front lockup again. Pretty rough circuit on that front left tire because of that. Lots of lockup. You see Valtteri taking a look down the inside into that braking zone. We managed to leave him just a little bit of room, but he isn't able to get fully alongside us, and we managed to hold that position off this time. So here we are breaking in to the long straights, the back-to-back long straights on the last section of the course here. So Valtteri's going to get a pretty good slipstream. This time we're going to be in trouble. We do not have DRS on Vettel in front of us. You can see just how close Valtteri is behind, so we're going to crank up our ERS, try and get as much as we can out of it. We are boxing this lap, so we want to try and push this lap as much as we can and push on the out lap as well. Valtteri really didn't quite get the run I thought he was going to get down that straight, so we managed to hang with him on the brake zone, go around the outside. He was slightly ahead of us into the detection point, so we managed to get DRS down the next straight that's available, so it helps us build a teeny bit of a buffer, as our teammate George Russell as well is now scrapping with Bottas behind us, which is good news for us because that at least alleviates the pressure a little bit. And Vettel's still just hanging out there just in front of us, just outside of that 1 second range, but not really running away like the rest of the lead group is. Max Verstappen, if you saw on the mini-map, that dark blue dot way out ahead, really stretching the gap to the rest of the crew. Bottas again with DRS is going to have a little bit of a look. He's managed to get back through George Russell, it appears, but not quite enough to really make a serious challenge on us through that corner. So this phase I'm having to be real careful on the throttle. Tons of wheel spin just even in 4th and 5th gear, trying to get on the power with these worn tires, so it's a real pain for us. Unfortunately, we get ready to dive into the pits here. Bottas is going to have the DRS. He's going to get a freebie down the straight. Nice clean entry into the pits, and we'll let our crew do their job here. So there we go, a nice quick clean stop onto a fresh set of medium tires here, nice and shiny. Coming out P20, we are the first car to dive into the pits with those worn softs. Kind of the unfortunate side effect of the Q2 tire rule. If you just barely make it Q3, you're almost putting yourself at a disadvantage. So we're going to go ahead and jump ahead a couple laps. Lap 7, Bottas is also running a 2-stop. He's managed to come out just behind us, but we've made a couple of mistakes through these last couple of corners here, so that's going to put us under attack. So again, we're going to lift, let him get by us into the detection point. Since he already had such a great run, no point in fighting it, but now we are going to have DRS down the straight, as George has dived into the pits as well. I think we should be able to overtake him on the exit. If you look just ahead, there he is coming out, so we got to kind of sneak our way between the two, but we're able to get smoothly onto the brakes and hold off Bottas and our teammate George Russell. So we are kind of running up at the back of the grid all together, but as other cars come in and make their stops, we will kind of shuffle our way back forward. And so we've managed to save a little bit more fuel. We're almost on target for the end of the race. We're about 5 seconds off of Kimi Räikkönen. So we are just kind of running our race, trying to reel him in. He's gone on to the hard tires. I didn't take a peek. He may have started on the hards. I think he might be going hard onto medium for his one stop, because I believe he started outside of the top 10. As we get a nice view of that rear suspension linkage, and Bottas, trying to find a way. We're going to move to the inside, go defensive as he hits the braking zone around the outside of us. But by closing the door on the inside, we force him to really try and take the long way around, and he's not able to complete the pass there. So another one of many attacks by Valtteri we've had already. We're managing to fight this Mercedes and kind of keep him behind us at the moment, but he's in the slipstream very healthily. Unfortunately, not enough for where I can lift and allow him to pass me in the detection point. So unfortunately, coming down the main straight here, we are going to be under attack by both Bottas and George Russell. So we are cutting way to the inside, basically using the pit entry line to close it off. George Russell just turns into the side pod of us. Not sure what he was doing there, as we were on the inside of 3 wide, but no damage on his front wing. Lucky for him, no damage to our side pods. And we managed to hold the position. The fact that they both tried to make the move at the same time, forcing a 3-into-1 situation, managed to allow us to hold the gap. We managed to close the gap to 3.7 seconds on Kimi, so I'm quite certain now that he's running some old hards. well, I wouldn't say old hards. He's only 9 laps in, but he's running some old hards while we're on relatively fresh mediums compared to him. Only about 4 laps old. So for once, we head down into this braking zone, not under attack, which is, you know, it's a nice change of pace for that little bit there. We're going to crank the fuel mix back down to lean, recover some of this fuel, try and get us back on target as soon as possible so we can have the rich mix available to us if we absolutely need it. But again, we are going to be in trouble down the main straight as we are in DRS range of Valtteri, but not quite caught up to Kimi. So we're going to turn up, overtake ERS. I believe George Russell is outside of that 1 second mark, so he's not really going to be able to close the gap up. But again, we're going to move to the inside. We're going to go defensive once more. Actually, it did look like George had the DRS, but one more time by going defensive to the inside, we managed to hold Valtteri off just barely. And now we are catching that big, long train with Kimi Räikkönen right in front of us there. Down that short DRS straight, not really a great passing zone there. There is DRS, a little bit of wheel spin coming out of that corner. But like I said, there is DRS down that straight, but it's not really an attack zone. That's really a DRS to help you close up the gap through what you'll lose in following so closely. So through the hairpin here, believe we should be within that 1 second mark of Kimi this time as we head through turns 9 and 10. Easy on the brakes, no lockups this time. You see, yep, our wing flips up, so we have a little bit of extra help down this straight to keep us from being attacked too hard. But, you know, Valtteri is all over our gearbox. Very, very close to us. We go a little bit wide, a bit of a mistake. Valtteri kind of takes a peek to the inside, but we managed to rejoin in front of him. He's got to kind of check up a little bit as whatever's going on with Kimi's hards is really causing him to struggle. So we're going to tuck into the slipstream here. We're not going to go by him. We are going to make sure that we are not the first car in a group of 4 coming out the main straight. So again, using that final DRS zone kind of tactically, not making passes wherever we can, making sure that we have DRS down into the main start-finish straight is a good idea around Bahrain here. A little bit of a lockup. We go a little deep into turn 1, but not really under attack at that point. Now we've got the 2 Toro Rossos, Albon and Butler, ahead of us. We are on lap 11. I think we were scheduled for about a 12-lap stint on these mediums, so we should be coming in, I believe, around lap 17 or 19, depending on how the tires last. So we've got a little bit of time to fight and battle. As you can see, we're really closing up on this group in front of us. I believe that this is the group that started the race on the mediums. They were outside of the top 10, did not have to start on the soft tires. So that is why at this stage I believe we're doing a pretty good job of reeling them in, even though they have yet to make their pit stop, and we have. A little bit of a lockup coming in there. You see those red arrows behind. Bottas is really looking for a way to get by. Albon and Butler going side by side through that right-hand sweeper is not great news for them. It gives me a really good chance to close up on this group. So we're going to tuck into the slipstream. Looks like one is stepping out, so we're going to go ahead and pick the one in front to grab the slipstream off of into the brakes, and we're going to go around the outside of Albon. It should be Butler right in front of us now, but we are going to have DRS, so get this kind of in-cockpit cam as we are weaving our way around him, making some adjustments to our ERS deployment as we get ready to head into the braking zone. Try and recover as much energy as we can, as we're having to spend a lot of it in defense this race. Now, one thing I think I could definitely be doing better on as far as car management, differential adjustments through some of these slower corners. I could definitely be tweaking that, adjusting the locking to make sure I'm not getting as much wheel spin, but dialing in, kind of holding that edge of traction. Obviously, the more locked it is, the more you're going to have a kind of a straight line launch, but it is going to trigger wheel spin if you are still mid corner, where you're going to want that differential a little bit less locked. Another thing is also the brake balance adjustments throughout the lap as well. I tend to kind of set it, forget it, unless I've got a real good feeling on a couple of corners. Otherwise, if you notice, I pretty much run it 60 to 62%. I was kind of getting some rear end lockup, so I've been in practice at least experimenting with a little more the 56 to 58% in some of the corners. But it really just depends on how the car is feeling, and I'm really more worried about ERS and fuel deployment modes to maximize the performance, because I mean, not having high ERS to play with, it really just limits your overall top speed. Obviously you can say the same about brake balancing and your braking distances, so it's definitely still an area that improves as we look to the outside of Grosjean, who has now gone medium onto those onto those hard tires. He has made his pit stop, but we've managed to chase him down and get by him into that turn 1-2 complex. So we are back up P11. We are now closing in. As you see, a few cars have made some stops onto the hard tires now, chasing down the McLaren of Lando Norris in front of us. We're going to go ahead and hop ahead a couple of laps. Lap 15 now. Bottas has really closed up on us, unfortunately. We are not really reeling in Lando at this point. Bottas is going to go ahead and have a look to the inside, and he just absolutely just torpedoes us. Swings us wide. We lose the position to George Russell. He's off the track behind us. Remains to be seen if he takes any front wing damage, but he was nowhere close to even being nearly alongside. That's really kind of cooked my tires by sliding like that. So you can see how little grip I had through some of these corners. I take a little dive down the inside of George that time. A little bit of a lockup, but we're able to make the pass stick and get our position back. But a rare, hyper-aggressive move from one of the top teams, as George is going to try and fight back at us. We just managed to hang it out around the outside, not quite clipping his front wing off. So at this point, the couple turns in, we finally got the tires really overcook when you get into a slide, so it really quickly heats them up. So you got to definitely kind of bring those temperatures back down, but they seem to be back in the window a bit, and they're feeling some wear. So we're not in a great spot. Luckily, we are boxing this lap to get a new set of mediums that should take us to the end of the race. But first, we got to battle with George a bit here, who is really showing good pace on this track. We're in the same car, and we're holding back-to-back positions. I think that's P11 and 12 at the moment. And you can just see the McLaren of Lando Norris just ahead of us there. So we're getting ready to hit the braking zone for the final corners before we're about to dive into the pits, and that will hand our position over to George. You see as we land in the pits, big lockup as we hit the pit limiter line. Luckily, no speeding there. We were able to get the car slowed down in time. See Valtteri coming out behind us. Remains to be seen if he's going to take a new wing. I didn't see anything break off, but he hit us pretty hard. Front wing to left rear tire. Now, luckily for us in this situation, the F1 2019 game doesn't really model contact-related punctures to your tires. Otherwise, that front wing to the sidewall of our rear tire is, almost a guaranteed puncture. Happens a lot in the real world. So we're going to go ahead and jump ahead. Ran in a lot of clean air. Lap 25, we managed to reel in Lance Stroll on his now aging hard tires. We are P14. A lot of the one-stoppers just kind of run off. You can see George maintained his position ahead of us after his. And Stroll is just all over the place as we're trying to get by him. He's locking up here. He's locking up there. As we ease off, and he locks way up into that turn 9-10 complex. Off the track completely, triggers a little bit of a yellow flag situation. And that moves us up into P13 with 4 laps here to go. But you can see Bottas and George Russell have kind of just run off in front of us. We're going to go ahead and take a little hop to the final lap of the race. We're P13 still. George and Valtteri have made it past Lando Norris, who is on a set of medium tires. So it looks like he actually went hard to medium was his strategy this race. And so unfortunately, it's looking like we're going to be out of the points for this race. really just again, wasn't an ideal tire strategy for the way I like to drive it. George Russell, was running same strategy. I'll give him credit. Definitely had much better pace throughout the race, but again, this is a track that the AI is very strong at. They put in some serious lap times. You see Verstappen running a 30.8. Our best is a 32.2. And we're allegedly the best of the rest in car class, but we're running out of the points right now. We'll see where George Russell comes home. See if we can bring home some points for us in the Constructors' Championship. But one of our kind of going into the season goals of consistent points finishes. Well, this is definitely a black mark on that record. P13 is not really where we want to be at. I mean, we are matching our car number, or lucky number 13, but we do have to hold off this group behind us for the last couple of corners. Toro Rosso and 2 of the Haas's, but we come out of the last corner pretty smoothly. We're going to go ahead and cross the line, finish P13 for this race.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work and they should be proud of the victory they secured here. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
Daniel Ricciardo certainly impressed me today, an incredible performance.
Let's move on to the constructors. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. Meanwhile, Renault move up the table with another strong performance this weekend. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
You can see how well the one stop worked out. Ricardo going from 14th to 8th. Big gains by those one stoppers. And our teammate Lucas on the podium.
Do you have any comments about the collisions?
I had to go with no comment here. I mean, all of these choices make it seem like it was my fault. I was just run into several times.
What's it like seeing your old F2 teammate up on the podium?
I wish I was up there with him, but I'm confident I'll be back on the podium soon enough. I had 2 last season, so going for 4 podiums this year.
Well, thanks anyway.
Don't be upset, Claire. But yeah, it was weird. A lot of the choices for the collisions were, oh, this didn't feel right. This didn't feel right. I literally just got ran into several times. Nothing I could do. You can see as we breezed by it, we've finished off our rivalry with Sergio Perez. Another unfortunate DNF for him as he was at the back of the grid, picked up no points in the rivalry. We do, unfortunately, fail our team goal. We did not score 5 championship points over those 2 races. We only got the one coming in 10th in Australia, and unfortunately out of the points here at Bahrain.
Great work. That's exactly the kind of result I'm looking for. Keep it up.
So now we've got we do have some resource points to play around with. So we'll dive into the R&D and see what we can make do with out of there. 1,600 points is a solid amount to play with. You see that rivalry. We're still on the performance chart, best of the rest. But Lucas is got great driving AI, so that definitely helps that alpha out, climbing the table. So the chassis is where we are the weakest compared to other teams. We are actually dead last in chassis department somehow, in spite of being in that fourth position in the performance table. So we could make some serious moves to our car's performance by developing the chassis. And I do want to continue to focus on some of these tire wear developments. The more we can keep the tires alive and running, the better choice we'll have on strategy. And we're got about 1,000 points left to play with. We're seeing what's still available. We are the second best engine on the grid, so we're probably not going to play around too much with that. And now I decided to go back to chassis for a second development, and see which of the remaining two is going to give us probably the best jump up. Take a peek. A DRS activation mechanism, so it'll be a little quicker down the straights with DRS. Stick with chassis. So it comes down to ERS energy source cells, which are weight reduction or weight redistribution on the plank. So we decided to go with the energy store cells. They are going to have about the same impact on our performance index. So we're going to go ahead and have two hopefully coming in for China. We're going to take a peek. 38% wear on the ICE and 32% after 2 races on the gearbox. So we're at target for making this gearbox last and not take the penalties. But we are headed off to Shanghai, China next for race 3 of this season, a track that the AI is not so OP at. So hopefully we'll turn in some better results. But thank you for joining me once again as we continue this journey with Williams, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.